All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome to my kitchen here in Argentina. So, if you guys have been watching the videos for this last week, or as we are calling it, the depression tapes, things have been a bit rough, and we're trying to take steps to get out of it and sort of find some sense of motivation and purpose again. In this weight loss health journey that we find ourselves in. And so a few days ago, if you watched, again, some of the videos from the last few days, we went to the Chinatown here in Buenos Aires, and we bought some things. And something that I figured I wanted to make was this Tonkotsu ramen broth that we can use. And my thinking around it is I wanted to get some building blocks to make some meals because like I explained in some of the other videos, and you know, if this doesn't make a lot of sense, maybe if you go back and watch some of those videos, it'll make a little more sense. But basically, if I had become overly reliant on some of the foods and sort of staples that I had in the States, as far as like foods to make and like how to build meals and stuff that met my macro needs, my macronutrient needs. And so when I first got here, everything felt completely out of place, and I felt really lost, and I didn't know what to do. And so the steps that I'm taking right now are trying to make some building blocks to be able to make meals that meet the nutritional profile that we're going forth in terms of health and proper nutrition to help, you know, our health journey, our weight loss goals, and you know, all of that stuff. And so we'll see. I mean, this one in particular is a very involved process. It's making a broth out of pork bones, you know, and it takes a while to cook. But again, I wanted to find some ways to motivate me again. And that's, you know, maybe something that we'll see if it works, we can try it out. Just figuring out little techniques, little tips and tricks to try to get us out of a funk if we happen to be stuck in a rut or something like that. Yeah, so that's it. I bought a little under 2 kilos of pork bones. These are, I believe these are like, they're not ribs, but probably like, I don't even know what they are. It's probably like the spinal cord of the pig. I don't know, it sounds gross. But we have some bones, and so we're gonna do the process. And also, I mean, if this angle looks a little weird, it's not a big kitchen, but it gives us the best view because we're gonna be blanching the bones first. And you know, cutting some of these things, and so this gives us a little bit of room to work with, and we can see exactly what we're doing. And so today is going to be an interesting video. We're gonna make some broth, some Japanese broth, and we're gonna do our workout because it's Friday, and so there are lots of things happening today, and hopefully this helps us get out of the funk that we're in. It's just all these steps that we're taking to try to get out of this depressive state that I've been in for the last few days. So, all right, well, let's get into it. Let me just kind of prep everything, and then we'll do this. So the first thing that we're trying to do here is, luckily this kitchen, and again, this is a rented apartment, so all of the things that you see here are not mine. It just came with the apartment, and luckily we have a big pot, or I guess like a big enough pot to make some of this bone broth, this Tonkotsu broth. And we have the pork bones. I'll do it here so you guys can see. And yeah, I guess let's just get them all out into the pot. Now, this is the first time that I'm doing any of this. You know, I am a huge fan of Japanese ramen. And so this was something that the first and only time that I've been to Japan that I was very much in love with. Became one of my favorite things in the entire world. Was this tonkotsu ramen, which is like and so I've always wanted to make it. So we have these bones, as you can see. I don't know how good the light is, sorry guys. But the idea is that the first step for making this is we're going to cover them with water, and then we're going to cook them, boil them basically for like 15-20 minutes to get some of the, what they call the nasty bits, so some of the congealed blood and impurities, and we're trying to get them as clean as possible so that then we can actually make the broth with the, you know, the good stuff, the marrow and the collagen and the minerals and stuff that are in the bones. So we're gonna do that first, then we're gonna prep our aromatics, and yeah, and that's it. So we have these bones. They have a little bit of meat on them, which is something we're supposed to have, and that's it. Now, this pot, I didn't know how much to get because, again, it's the first time that I'm doing this, but I feel like this pot can get so much more. It doesn't have to be just, this was like 1.5 kilos. This could take a good 2 to 2.5 kilos of bones, I believe, if we arrange them properly. Ooh, I touched them and they're greasy already and stuff. That's what we want. So let's get some of this good water in here. Or actually, I don't know if this will take much more than this because it's not very deep. So let's put it back here and do it now. This is not a fancy stovetop, so I gotta light it with this. And I'm not very good at it because I'm very skittish. Okay. All right. So we are going to bring this to a boil. And we're gonna give it 15-20 minutes to see. In the meantime, I'm gonna chop up half of these mushrooms and scallions, and we're gonna fry them a little bit, really get them nice and brown and sort of cooked. And the other half we're gonna leave raw, and so we're gonna go for that. So while the bones are blanching, I'm cutting the basically about half of the mushrooms so that I can fry them a little bit with, more than a little bit, we want to get them nice and brown, with some of these scallions. I'm gonna do about half so we can do half raw, half cooked. So we're gonna fry these guys, and then after those are done blanching in a little while, we're gonna get them out, wash them, making sure that they're nice and clean, and then from there, we're just gonna add everything to the pot and just cook the shit out of it for like 12 hours if we can. Starting this a little bit later in the day, so I might not be able to do the full 12 hours, but you know, that's kind of the idea. So let's get these guys frying and then we'll keep going. So let's put these guys in here. And we're just gonna get them nice and super brown. Okay. And then yeah, we just kind of let them cook down for a while, making sure that they're nice and caramelized. And then we're gonna roughly chop the other ones, because then we're gonna put all of that into our pot. But yeah, that's basically it. It's taking like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes for the water to actually start boiling with the bones, and you can already see all that muck, all that, I don't know, it seems grimy and dirty. So it's about 10 to 15 minutes from now, and I'm also frying the mushrooms and the scallions, and oh, it smells so good. But basically, so we're gonna keep those boiling for like, I don't know, 15 minutes. And then from there, we are gonna dump them out and clean them and all that. So let's give it about 15 minutes. And this is how the mushrooms and the scallions are doing. And you guys see like all that stuff, all that foam at the top just seems dirty and grimy. Ugh. So that's what we're getting rid of by blanching the bones. So that's the status update. Over here, we still got about 7 minutes to go on this boil before we clean the bones. I left it a little bit longer, so about 20 minutes. And I think this is ready to go. Just gonna move the mushrooms kind of out of the way. And this thing is gonna be pretty hot. But basically, I'm gonna dump the bones in here and all the water and stuff. Make sure that all that grows. Look at all that gross stuff. Ugh. Give it a chance to drain everything. And then just kind of dump the bones in there. Woo! And we're gonna maybe rinse that in a minute, but we're gonna wash these bones. Wash them, wash them, wash them. And I'll give you a quick so that you see what this looks like here. All right. These are still pretty hot, so okay, so we're gonna just kind of rinse these guys for a little while and then kind of wash each one individually, and then they're going back in the pot. So let me do that. And I'm giving attention to each individual bone. Don't know if I'm getting them as clean as they're supposed to be, but you know, I think this is sort of good enough. Just give them a nice rinse. It doesn't seem like there's much blood or anything on them. So now I have washed the pot to make sure that all that muck was done, and now I'm putting the bones back in, trying to do like a little puzzle and put them together so that they're as flat as possible on the pot, and we have to, you know, we can get the most surface out of them. But yeah, I think that's basically it. From here we put more water in here, cover the whole thing, and then we just cook it down 12 hours. I don't know if we'll have 12 hours because it's already a little bit later, but yeah. So here we have them. They're basically as organized as they can get. And we're gonna take it from there. So some cold water. Making sure that this is nice and cold. And we're just gonna fill the pot. And then, oh yeah, let's get the, with these mushrooms, I put a little bit of water in the pot as I was finishing so that it basically deglazed the pot, you know, with all the extra brown bits. Get it all in there. It's going to be very flavorful. All right. We're going to start with that. And we'll see. Okay, this goes back on here. And we're going to get it. We're going to get it going. And now that that's going, we're gonna roughly chop up the rest of the scallions and the mushrooms, and these are gonna go in raw into the pot, and that's it. And then we just get it going. If I think I read that if any other like nasty stuff starts coming up to the top, you just kind of skim it to get all of those impurities out, and that's it. Okay. That, hope I didn't lose so much. And now the mushrooms, and that's it. And this is what it's starting to look like before it boils. And so these are not the exact type of mushrooms. They usually ask for white mushrooms because we do want the tonkotsu to have like a creamy white look. And this is probably not going to be it. It's sort of like my adjusted version of it. I don't know how creamy white the broth is gonna be, but you know, it is what it is. And so this is what it looks like. And as long as it gives us something to work with, it's good. Now that we have our broth cooking, and it's gonna take the rest of the day and night, and it's just gonna take a long time, we have no excuse, guys, but to do our workout. It is Friday today. It's actually a nice day out. It's a little warm for my taste, so I closed the windows and I turned on the AC just to, you know, maybe be a little more comfortable. But yeah, we got to get into it. So this is one of the few things that is making me be consistent, at least with something, is this workout. So thank you guys for doing it with me. If it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't be doing this workout right now. And I don't know, at some point it's got to stick or something. But in the meantime, I am happy for all the help that you guys give me by doing this together. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let me put my phone over here. Okay, let's do this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's take a little bit of this time that we have to talk about what I think has been going on this past week And we have talked about it over the last few days, but it's definitely been significant and difficult enough that it requires a little bit more attention from me, because especially Tuesday and Wednesday were very dark days. And I think that, it's difficult to dissect it because it still feels so raw and so close. And I'm still not back to 100%, but yeah, it's very difficult to start putting it into words, because it's almost like the sense of security that I had created for myself back in the US with all my things in my very controlled environment. I didn't realize how much I was relying on that emotionally, psychologically. And then getting here, I remember I had lots of really vague ideas of what I was going to do and how things were going to go once I got here. In terms of this new health journey that we're all in. And it's like getting here and the ideas, the daydreams become reality. And I was paralyzed by that, not knowing like, oh shit, what do I do? What do I do here? And it was so overwhelming. And for people who can relate to this, if this resonates with you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's this idea of like, I don't know, like a lot of people describe those nightmares, like people have recurrent nightmares of like being in a stage, like being on stage, and they're supposed to give a presentation, they have no idea what to do or what to say or anything like that. Like, it feels like that sort of like panic of like, oh shit, what do I do now? But it's in real life. So let's do another set. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And so that just feels horrible. And so I think Tuesday is when everything started really going south. And my first instinct is to try to force the situation, just push through that discomfort. And a lot of the times pushing through that discomfort is good, because sometimes we just need a little extra oomph, a little extra push, and then things kind of fall into a rhythm again. But sometimes that doesn't work. I mean, there might be, I've talked to enough people about this, where if you understand that part, if you understand this that I'm saying, where sometimes a push does not help and in fact does the opposite, then you know exactly what I mean. And people who've never experienced that, people who've had, if you're, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if your mind right now is going to, well, you just got to stop being a pussy and just push through. If that's going through your head right now, then chances are you've never really been on this other end and think that we're all just soft and making it up. We might be. I mean, I'm not opposed to that idea. All ideas welcome, but it doesn't feel that way for some of us. And in fact, is the opposite. If you're not in the right mindset, that extra push can just like push you right off the edge. And like we were describing in the last few days during the depression tapes, fall right into the abyss. And it's very dark. It's dark down there. We've got 2, right? Yeah. One, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And so I was trying to push through, trying to do what I could to keep going. And it just didn't really work. And so that's why Tuesday turned into such a dark place. And then the idea behind Wednesday, I remember Tuesday night thinking, I can't do this tomorrow again. Try to force myself to push through all the things without something else, just a little light of hope somewhere. And so that's when I decided, okay, what can we do to sort of recreate this sense of security that we had in the US? And I thought, well, maybe we can go and figure out how to create some of those building blocks for the meals that we were having in the US. And so yes, it's a little bit more work, but that simple idea generated enough excitement in me to want to do this, as opposed to having another day of being really depressed and not wanting to do anything and just feeling really horrible. And so that was the idea behind Wednesday. Just wanted to go out and see if anything would, catch my attention, spark my interest, spark my motivation, get a little spark, just a little spark that we can turn into a flame. And we're trying to. So I plan to completely do something different Wednesday and just went out, and the plan was not to focus on food, although when it came down to it, I tried to make the best decision possible, but not to focus on it and just kind of go and do whatever, start building those, finding those building blocks and getting those ideas, those things that might turn into something. And yeah, that's when I came up with, okay, let's buy, we were having, I guess, what felt like a lot of little Asian curries and things and like little ramen things, instant meals and stuff. And so that's when I thought, okay, maybe that's a good starting point. We can try to get some things that way. Try to find something that'll make us a little more excited. And that's what we did Wednesday. Wednesday was still a horrible day. It really still was bad. But all right, let's get another sit in, because my brain is half trying to remember the sets, and so I'm a little distracted, and I'm gonna have to figure out a way to count these sets visually so I don't forget, and my attention is not divided in trying to remember. I think we're starting with 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. All right, we're at 40. So it's interesting because even though I decided that Wednesday was going to go like that to try to find some kind of first of all, break the pattern that was turning very dark. Also get out and do something outside. And trying to find some things that might spark my motivation to try to do this again and figure out if we could find a thread that we can pull from, and then the whole thing would unravel before our eyes. It sounds a little philosophical, but you guys know what I mean. And so the idea was to do that, but while I was doing it on Wednesday, it still didn't feel very good. In fact, Wednesday might have been even more horrible than Tuesday, and I had the craziest fucking roller coaster of emotions. up and down, up and down, up and down. And the ups weren't, the ups weren't that high, but the downs were very low. So it was like neutral, maybe a little bit above neutral, and then way down, and then up again. And this happened a lot. And so it was very exhausting. And so, but then having given ourselves the time to do that, then yesterday, as you guys remember from the video, we started feeling a little bit better. Things started feeling not as overwhelming. And I hate it because I don't have any specific thing that turned things around. I think it was just doing those things, trying to find something that could motivate me again and figure out, like, okay, we don't have these things that we had in the US, all our tools and gadgets maybe in our kitchen and the foods that we were eating and those building blocks to make those meals. But we can find other things here that we might be a little more excited about, and trying to find, I guess, the action of doing that, to getting out, finding these things, thinking like, ooh, I could make this, ooh, I could make that. Even though in the moment on Wednesday they felt really bad, I still did, or I guess I still didn't feel like they were contributing, and I questioned myself the entire day that I was doing it. Then yesterday came around and, you know, I wasn't 100%, but I was feeling a little bit better. Things didn't seem so hopeless anymore. And so I think in general, that worked a little bit. All right, another set. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Ooh, we're halfway there, guys. And so maybe that's something, it's not groundbreaking, obviously, and it seems fairly straightforward. Well, if you feel like shit, go out, take a walk, try to take, you know, a different approach. But it is extremely difficult to do it. It's extremely difficult to be able to do that when you're already feeling like shit. Because it's so weird how if you're feeling that depressed, you don't want to go and do anything. You don't want to get out. You don't want to get up sometimes. You don't even want to get out of bed. And staying in bed just perpetuates how shitty you're feeling. So if you can, enlist the help of someone who can force you to get out, force you to get out of bed, force you to get out of the house, have a little break in that negative routine that's keeping you miserable. But it's definitely hard, and there's no magic bullet. And if you're going through that, I feel you, and it's not easy. And sometimes we do need that day to just fucking lay around and not do anything. But it's weird because the longer you do that, the longer it'll keep you there. And so the idea is to try to break that cycle as quickly as possible with whatever it is that you can do to get out of it. So we keep at it. All right, we're at 50. 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Whew. So that thing for me was to figure out how to create some of those basics, those building blocks for making tastier meals. And so, like you guys saw, I think it was yesterday's video. Wednesday's video. You guys saw all the stuff that we bought. And there was nothing specific. like, it didn't really solve anything. I guess because it's not like I went out and replaced all my meal packages and all of that stuff that I had in the US, all the Huel and all that. It was just getting a few ingredients that would somehow excite me enough to want to cook with them. And that in and of itself, you know, just mentally helps you get out of that funk where you don't feel like doing anything. Finding that one thing that is going to make you a little bit excited to do it, to try it out. And that was that. And I'm still working on building this. And so I wanted to make the Tonkotsu broth for the longest time. And nothing felt right about doing it right now. And if it wasn't for my girlfriend who pushed me to do it, I probably wouldn't have done it. And so that helped a lot. But with that, I think that it just builds momentum. You start doing that one thing, and that one thing leads to the next thing, and so on until all of a sudden you're starting to get out of it. And so I still get like little mini panic attacks. I usually feel it in my chest and like my upper arms. But I feel like at least I'm sort of slowly starting to get out of it. The trick is also not to think about it too much because it's easy for those feelings to come back. All right, we're at 60, right? '61, '62, '63, '64, '65, '66, '67, '68, '69, '70. And so that is that. But we still have an interesting issue for today because we still don't have enough of the building blocks that we want for the meals. And, making bone broth that takes 12 hours to cook is not necessarily the idea of pragmatic. And I know that, but again, the idea is to start moving in some kind of direction. So I'm thinking today, we're probably gonna end up going to one of the food by weight places that I talked about in one of the earlier videos here in Buenos Aires, that they're all over the place. Some of them are better than others. Things have gotten a little pricey, especially compared to last year. And so, I don't want to rely on that too much because, again, we're also not really controlling the quality of the ingredients and how we're cooking them and stuff like that. And if the point is to be as healthy as possible, then we're trying to make better choices if we can. Little by little, we're not going to go from a shit diet of fast food to perfect nutrition, from one day to the next, but slowly starting to develop that intuition for food. And so you guys know that I use this little device called Lumen that measures your metabolism and kind of gives you an idea what you should be eating based on what your metabolism is doing and your weight and all that stuff. And they have these in the app, they have these little tips, little videos, they feel like social media type videos. They give you little tips and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys could hear, that's weird. Anyway, so they give you these little tips. And the tip this morning was how often should you count macros? And basically the answer was until you have a very clear understanding of your nutrition and what it actually is. Because most of us don't really have a good intuition for how much we're eating and what kind of foods we're eating, if we're eating too many carbs or, if things are out of balance somehow. And so the idea is that you do it enough that you start developing an intuition for knowing, okay, this is too many carbs, this is not enough protein, stuff like that. So, all right, we're going 60, right? 60 or 7, no, 60. See, this is the problem, I can't remember. I think we're starting with 71 here. 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. Whew. I feel like I skipped one. I feel like I skipped one in the same exact place that I did on Monday. But anyway, the point of this is that we're doing it. We're actually doing our workout. And so that's good. That's what we want to do. That's what we're doing. And so, yeah, we keep going, guys. This move was rough. And it was rough because I really wasn't aware. This is what took me by surprise. I really wasn't aware of how much my own sanity was relying heavily on the system that I had set up for myself. And it goes to show both how important having a system like that is, because that system was carrying me through my worst days, but also how just because I had a system that was developed in one place doesn't necessarily mean that the system translates to a different place with a different set of rules, where everything is not the way that you think it's going to be. And so the system wasn't in here. And I think that that's, I guess, the lesson that I'm trying to get out of this. And again, you guys, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that this is sort of how I process things and how I learn is just by talking through it and trying to make sense of it by talking. And that's kind of, these ideas start forming in my head. So again, if something doesn't make a lot of sense, it's probably because I'm still trying to work out what it is. But the idea behind it is that it was very clear to me that we needed a system, and we talked about it extensively while I was still in the US. But the system was external. So I was relying on all the external things that I could control, and so creating that bubble. But the system wasn't in here. The system was not internal. It was external. And I guess the idea is to get to a point where that system, that set of ideas, that set of principles that guides your behavior exists in here. And it's very clear to you regardless of where you go and regardless of how uncertain the situation that you find yourself in is. Because that's when everything goes to shit. At least that's what I'm starting to find and really see is just how quickly everything falls apart when things are not what you expect them to be. And most of life is like that. I mean, if you want to be a fucking hermit and never leave your house like I was for the first 8 weeks, sure, everything is very controlled, especially in a place like the US where you can get everything online very quickly, delivered to your house and all of that stuff. But if you're not, or the moment you step out of that, you're fucked. If the system is not internal, you haven't internalized it, and you are the system. So, okay, here we go. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. Whew. And so that is it, you guys. That is what the situation is right now. And it is not simple to anything. Or I guess the concept is simple enough, but the execution is not easy. Not easy at all. Because of the demons that we have in our heads. We have one more set, right? I really can't remember. But another workout. This is, now I don't remember how long we've been doing this, but it's been a few weeks. Quite a few weeks now that we haven't missed a workout. And that's good. It's very good. there are some more things around the apartment. Like there are some weights, like smaller, like 5 kilo dumbbells. And I keep thinking like, I don't know, my arms have always been not muscular at all. And so I wonder if I could get a little bit better, a little more tone, a little more muscle development if I did something, but I don't know. I feel a little, just because I'm having this sort of a little surge of energy, I don't particularly want to overwhelm myself by taking on too much, because that's also something that sometimes happens to me. We get a wave of energy and it's like, I'm ready to take on the world and I want to fucking run a ultra marathon, and you know, let's be fucking realistic here. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we try to add something else to these workouts? Some arm, or I don't know. Just the only reason I started thinking about it is because I have these guys here. And so it would be like a, you know, like an easy thing because I have the equipment. All right, let's do this. 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. Okay, and that's it. We are done. So, good job, you guys. That is our workout for today. We're gonna continue cooking our bone broth. I'm gonna go check on it now. And then we'll probably go grab some lunch, figure out, you know, something for today. And again, we are continuing to be a little more relaxed about our food while we figure out a better path forward. So thank you guys for hanging with me. I really hope this is useful to see, not the highlight reel of someone having their shit together, but the real-time day-to-day struggles of losing 150 pounds. So, all right, see you guys in a bit. And this baby is finally boiling. So like I said, maybe the mushrooms and having cooked the other half of the mushrooms to give it more flavor might make the broth a little bit darker than we want, but that's okay. We're not looking for perfection or for a perfect traditional tonkotsu. We just want a tasty building block to start making our sort of arsenal and start taking some of the ambiguity out, and it's get back on track. That's what we're trying to just get back on track. Okay, so we have maybe like 5 hours, 4 something hours in, and this is looking really good. Now here we're gonna make a ginormous pork tenderloin that we bought, and we're just prepping it. So again, we cut it in this way because we want it to cook a little bit faster, and this oven doesn't have like a temperature setting or anything like that, and so I want to make sure that it gets cooked evenly. Since we're gonna end up freezing it, we want to make sure that it's well cooked. And the pork is out of the oven. It's looking good. The broth is still cooking. We are going on about 10 hours now. It is looking good. So that's the update, and we're starting to create our little building blocks. It's exciting. And this guy is done. I followed some instructions that I saw online about putting some ice cubes in there just to help it cool down a little bit faster, and it's pretty concentrated. So A little bit should go a long way, but basically it's past midnight, and this is what it looks like. So not bad for our first attempt. I tasted it and it's pretty delicious. It's pretty rich. And this is what's left of the bones and the mushrooms and stuff. There's still meat on them. There's still, you know, like, I guess it wasn't the most potent flame, you know, but this is what we had. I mean, there's still stuff left on the bones. I feel like it could have cooked much longer, but I want to go to bed. So this is what we got. Pretty good, you guys.